Have you ever noticed how many people today are choosing to live quietly, almost invisibly? Not in a dramatic way, not with anger or rebellion, but softly. They reply late, they cancel plans, they don't argue anymore, they don't explain themselves much. They still love people, still care, still feel deeply, but they keep a certain distance like they're protecting something fragile inside them. And it makes you wonder, what happened? Why are so many people choosing solitude over connection, silence over noise, and peace over participation? This isn't because people suddenly stopped valuing relationships. It's because relationships changed, the world changed, and people changed in response. We live in a time where connection is everywhere, yet depth feels rare. Messages arrive instantly, but understanding doesn't. People talk constantly, but few truly listen. Social interaction has become fast, reactive, and often emotionally demanding. There's pressure to respond, to show up, to explain, to perform, to be available. And for many, it has become exhausting. So some people didn't disappear. They retreated, not because they hate others, but because they were tired of explaining themselves to people who never tried to understand, tired of repeating boundaries that were ignored, tired of conversations that drained more than they gave, tired of being emotionally present in spaces where they felt unseen. For many, solitude became a place to breathe again. A lot of people reached a point where they realized something important. Every interaction costs energy. And when your energy is constantly spent on drama, misunderstandings, emotional labor, or shallow connections, you start to lose yourself slowly. You don't notice it at first. You just feel more tired than usual, more irritable, less inspired, less like yourself. Until one day you choose quiet, not because you're lonely, but because you're finally listening to yourself. Another reason people are choosing to live more independently is emotional maturity. When someone grows emotionally, they stop needing constant validation from others. They stop seeking approval in every conversation. They stop needing to be surrounded by people just to feel okay. They learn to sit with themselves, and once that happens, being alone doesn't feel like emptiness. It feels like clarity. Solitude gives you something rare, space to hear your own thoughts without interference. And once you experience that, it becomes hard to return to noise that doesn't serve you. Many people today have also been deeply hurt, not always in obvious ways. Sometimes it's not a big betrayal, but repeated small disappointments. Being misunderstood, being taken for granted, being emotionally available for others who were never available in return. Over time, those experiences teach a person to pull back, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. They learn that not everyone deserves access to their inner world, so they stop sharing everything. They stop explaining every feeling. They stop showing up where they don't feel safe, and instead, they build a quieter life. There's also the reality that modern life is overstimulating. Constant notifications, opinions everywhere, expectations everywhere. Everyone has advice, everyone has judgment, everyone wants a reaction, and some people simply choose not to participate in that chaos anymore. They aren't antisocial, they're selective. They choose depth over quantity, peace over popularity, meaning over momentum. But is it healthy? Yes and no. It's healthy when solitude is a conscious choice, not an escape. When a person chooses to be alone, to reconnect with themselves, to heal, to grow, to think clearly, that kind of solitude can be incredibly nourishing. It builds emotional strength. It improves self-awareness. It teaches you how to regulate your emotions without depending on others to fix them for you. In solitude, people often discover who they truly are without external influence. What they like, what they don't, what they believe, what they tolerate, what they will never tolerate again. But solitude becomes unhealthy when it turns into isolation driven by fear. When someone avoids people, not because they value peace, but because they're afraid of being hurt again. When they stop connecting, not because they're fulfilled, but because they're guarding unhealed wounds. When silence becomes a wall instead of a sanctuary. That's where the line begins to blur. Some people convince themselves they're better alone, when deep down, they're just scared to trust again. They say they hate drama, but what they really hate is vulnerability. They say they don't need anyone, but what they really mean is they don't want to risk disappointment again. And this is where self-awareness becomes crucial. Living alone or choosing solitude isn't the problem. The intention behind it is. If solitude helps you grow softer, more grounded, more compassionate, it's healthy. If solitude makes you colder, detached, numb, it's a signal, not a solution. The truth is, humans are wired for connection. Not constant connection, not superficial connection, but meaningful connection. We need mirrors, we need presence, we need shared silence sometimes. Complete isolation over long periods can slowly harden the heart, even if it feels safe at first. That's why balance matters, and that balance is difficult in today's world. People are trying to protect their peace while still wanting connection. They want love without chaos, presence without pressure, understanding without explanation. And because that feels rare, they choose themselves first, sometimes completely. But what happens when someone stays in that space for too long? At first, it feels empowering, peaceful, liberating. You enjoy your own company, you don't miss social obligations, you feel calm, you feel in control. But slowly, subtly, something else can happen. You stop letting people in altogether. You stop practicing emotional openness. You stop risking closeness. Not intentionally, it just happens. And that's where the question shifts from why people choose to live this way to what this lifestyle is slowly doing to them. Because solitude can heal, but it can also hide things we haven't fully faced yet. And that's where this conversation truly deepens. This naturally leads into part 2, where we'll explore what prolonged emotional withdrawal does to the mind and heart, how people confuse peace with avoidance, and the subtle signs that solitude is turning into emotional isolation. Have you ever noticed? Don't forget to like, share, and comment on this video, and do subscribe to my YouTube channel if you feel connected with this content. Good luck, and stay safe.